Welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. My name is Joe Buck. That's the Hall of Famer. Glad to have you with us.
You're listening to Last Place Lectures, presented by Sucking at Fantasy Football.
All right, welcome back to Season 1, Episode 3, where I'm going to talk about the history of Bloody Marys, different variations, my top 10, my worst 10, a couple other things in that world. This one was submitted by Cole for this month. I apologize in advance, Cole, and everyone else. I'm not currently drinking a Bloody, and I'm not wearing my Bloody Mary t-shirt that you gifted me, Cole, which I love. I'm sorry. I'm kind of on a time crunch. I'm going to be gone for pretty much most of March, so I needed to get this out ahead of time. If I have time sometime this week, I promise I will put on the shirt and drink a Bloody and try to document that and throw it in this episode somehow. But for now, I will not be wearing the shirt. But, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode with Brett. I thought he did a really good job. I'm back on the Google Slides. It's not as, I can't think. It's not as much of a lecture as my first one, but I do have a couple slides and a picture. So let's get into it. Let's go down. We'll go down here. Actually, we'll put me over here. Okay, so if you look up a Bloody Mary recipe on Wikipedia, or just on Google and go to the Wikipedia page, this is what shows up. Very simple. Vodka, tomato juice, lemon juice, Worcestershire sauce, Tabasco sauce, celery salt, black pepper, and garnish with a celery stick and lemon wedge. Which, I think if you made this, exactly following this, you'd probably get like a C of a Bloody, C minus. It probably isn't going to be anything crazy, but it's not going to be terrible. The most annoying thing would probably be that it would cost like $14 at some cute little brunch place, and it would suck. So, it wouldn't really be my highest graded Bloody, but, if you're in a pinch, you could probably get it done. So that's kind of the basic recipe that they show. Later on, I'll break down a specific recipe that I like to use for my Bloody Marys, which I think are pretty good and are like a pretty safe standard to go by. Okay, so let's get into the history a little bit. When did the Bloody appear? And there's not an exact date to when it was invented, but sometime between the 20s and 30s. And the date that I go by and the guy that I go by is closer to like the 19s, 20 range, but then it gets more popularized in the 30s. But its origins start in the early 1920s. Where? So 1920s, we'll get to the guy that invented it, but first shows up in Paris, France, and that's when it's first kind of shown and served to people. But then it goes over to the U.S., and that's where it becomes more of a well-known drink, and people then from there start to, create their own recipes or go different directions with it, with different variations of the current Bloody Mary that we see today. And that happens in New York. Who? This homie right here. Fernand Petiot. I'm going to guess that T is silent at the end. So Fernand Petiot in 1921 is believed to have invented the original Bloody Mary in Paris. I guess, which this guy is, he is interesting. He's quite something. In fact, he was born February 18th, 1900, which is exactly 100 years before me. My birthday is February 18th, 2000. And then he died exactly 46 years before the January 6th insurrection. So he died January 6th, 19 something, whatever 46 years is before the January 6th insurrection, which is kind of funny. I wonder if he would have shown up. He probably would have had like a little bloody stand serving the guy in the big buffalo helmet or whatever. Another fun fact about Fernand, he is believed to have set a beer drinking record at a contest in 1925, June of 1925, when he drank 2-liter glasses of beer in 46.5 seconds, which is approximately equivalent to a 6-pack of 12-ounce beers. That's crazy. If he was able to crush 6 12-ounce beers in under a minute, 6 of them, yeah, that's pretty impressive. That's crazy. Is that even possible? I'm trying to put that into perspective of what our Edward 40 Hands records are, but whatever. Regardless, the dude could throw back some beer and make a tasty bloody. Okay, so Fernand was working at a bar in Paris called the New York Bar, which is kind of ironic, but it was called the New York Bar, and that was located in Paris, France, which happened to be a really popular place where American like high-profile tourists would go. Like, I guess he served Ernest Hemingway and Joe DiMaggio at the place in France, in Paris. But yeah, so he was working there, and apparently he made this drink as a spur-of-the-moment thing. He just kind of thought, hey, why not throw together some sort of booze with tomato juice? I have tomato juice laying around. And the first one is believed to have just been tomato juice, vodka, and like salt and pepper and maybe a lemon. So very, very simple, not even using Worcestershire sauce or celery salt or anything that you see in today's, or even like the basic ones that a lot of these crappy ones give you. So he makes this drink, and then he serves it, and he calls it the bucket of blood. So he doesn't coin it the name the Bloody Mary until a little bit later on. So he's, at this time, he serves a couple, and then he's starting to serve quite a few more, and he's calling it the bucket of blood. The New York bar later turns into Harry's New York bar, so Harry must have bought it and wanted to throw his name in front of it. So it's now called Harry's New York Bar, and that is where Fernand is working at this time. And apparently also for Harry's New York Bar is also, they claim to have invented other drinks like the Sidecar, which is kind of a popular drink, and also there's another one, the White Lady. This bar is said to invented those, which is kind of crazy if a bar I don't know, I guess they're just banging out drinks. The Bloody Mary, the White Lady, and a Sidecar. That's kind of impressive to invent 3 different alcoholic drinks. So he's working at this place, but then later on, about 4 years later, in 1925, probably after he finished his beer chugging competition, he's like, I gotta get out of here and go to a more competitive environment besides France. So he decides to move to New York. So in 1925, he moves to New York, and he is working at the St. Regis, which is a pretty high-profile bar at the time in New York. And he remains in New York until his retirement in 1966. And while at the St. Regis, he is serving like all these extremely famous people. Like I said, Joe DiMaggio. He also served a gangster, Frank Costello. I don't know where in the gangster world he ranks, but Wikipedia said he was a gangster, which is pretty cool. And then he is also said to have served every president from 1934 to 1972 except Lyndon B. Johnson, which is kind of crazy that he was just serving all these presidents. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so the name Bloody Mary, like I said, he didn't come up with the name Bloody Mary necessarily. He started calling him a blood bucket. So, some believe that it comes from a Hollywood star named Mary Pickford, but there wasn't a lot of persuading evidence to show that that is the most logical way for how the name came about. The most logical name that I found was that Fernand, when he first started serving this in England, he got some customers from Chicago, and how'd it go? Yeah, so he was serving these people from Chicago, and he served them the bucket of blood, and they were like, oh, what's this drink called, the bucket of blood? There's actually a bar in Chicago that we go to that's called the Bucket of Blood, and there's a waitress at this bar, the Bucket of Blood, that is named Mary, and we all call her Bloody Mary. And one of the guys said from Chicago that the drink reminds him of Bloody Mary, the waitress. So from then on, the name stuck, and he decided to start calling it the Bloody Mary. So, yeah, Chicago guys, you should go see if the Bucket of Blood is still a bar in Chicago. Yeah. There's also been Bloody Mary is popularly associated with Queen Mary I of England, who was named Bloody Mary because of the executions of Protestants during her reign. So Mary I was a bad bitch. You don't want to cross her, especially if you're a Protestant. Then you'd get killed. Yeah. Let's see, what else do I have here? Okay, here's some variations. Red Snapper, or a Bloody Margaret, or a Bloody Gary are served with gin, which that sounds like it would be fine. I feel like you probably couldn't taste it that much of a difference. I don't mind gin, so I feel like I would maybe like it. I've never had one. Bloody Maria, that's with Blanco tequila. That's pretty good. I feel like if you were using, I feel like Blanco is probably the only one you could get away with. I feel like some other ones might stick out a little bit more, but I also don't know my tequila that well yet. I'm about to go to Mexico, so, maybe I'll come back a tequila connoisseur like Cole and Joe. Virgin Mary, obviously no booze, which, hey, there's always a time and place for a Virgin Mary. It's all right. Bloody Fairy is used with absinthe, which I don't totally know what that is. I know when I was bartending at the lacrosse club, one of the drinks, you rinse the glass with that. So I think it's probably pretty distinct. But I don't know. Yeah. Bloody Fairy sounds a little weird. Bloody Geisha, used with sake. Dylan, maybe you could try one of those in Japan and let us know how that would go. I feel like that would be pretty good. Sake, I think, is pretty mild, or it's not I don't know. Sake, I feel like would be more mild than tequila, but that's my take. Bloody Miriam is used with Iraq. I don't know what that is. I don't remember what the description was, but I guess I could look back for that. And then a bullshot is a bloody, but instead of tomato juice or tomato base, they use beef bouillon or consomme. That sounds kind of good. Maybe not the consomme, that might be a little much, but some beef broth or something like that could maybe be kind of good. A Caesar, that's obviously the Canadian version where they use Clamato juice, and they're very specifically using Clamato juice. I had one, I thought it was fine, Like, I thought it just tasted like a pretty simple bloody. I don't know, like a little bit more thin because of the Clamato, I think, but I didn't think it was anything too crazy. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, those are the different variations that I came across. Okay, here's my beast mode recipe. So my beast mode recipe is always served in a pint glass. So you take your pint glass, fill it all the way up with ice. You know, maybe leave like a little bit at the top without ice for the garnish. So then, ice and glass, Worcestershire sauce, which I'll talk about Worcestershire sauce. I might as well talk about it now. I kind of knew what Worcestershire sauce was, but I was like, what is it? And like, what exactly is it? So, Worcestershire sauce was invented by a pharmacist in Worcester, Worcestershire, England. So, Worcestershire being the state, Worcester being the city. So, it'd be like if you were from Wisconsin Rapids in the state of Wisconsin. So, it's from the city of Worcester in the state of Worcestershire in the country of England. It was invented in the first half of the 19th century. I guess they used it for, like digestive purposes. And the ingredients are vinegar, salt, some sort of sweetener like sugar or molasses, and then either like garlic, shallots, or onion, and then soy sauce, and either fish like anchovies or fish sauce are the popular ones. And that was kind of like the original. And now there's a couple different spin-offs of Worcestershire that I've seen. I guess one being Duffy's. I've only seen it at Mount Lacrosse where I bartend at, but Duffy's sauce is really good, and it's very similar to Worcestershire sauce. I know Worcestershire is one of the ingredients in Duffy's, but if you're looking to make a bloody and you want to try something new, I would recommend picking up Duffy's. I really like it. Okay, back to the recipe. Pint glass, ice, California liberal amount of Worcestershire sauce. I go until all of the cubes are covered, not, submerged, but have like a drizzling of Worcestershire sauce on the ice itself. So quite a bit. And then I take my hot sauce. I like to use Reds, either Reds or Tabasco. I probably prefer Reds over Tabasco, honestly. Cholula if you're in a pinch, Sriracha if you're trying to get crazy. We had a good one at the Irish pub in Madison that used Sriracha, which was actually pretty decent. But for this purpose, and if you're trying to stay true to mine, we're going to take Reds. We're going to do like 3 pumps of Reds, or more if you want it spicier. And I'll get to spiciness later. And then you're going to take pickle juice, and that's like 3 squirts. So if you had pickle juice in like a squirt bottle, it'd kind of be like 1, 2, 3, like that. Which is maybe like an ounce if you don't have that, or just a little. Take the jar and just dip a little in there. It's not too critical. Well, it's critical to have the pickle juice, but the amount doesn't really matter. And then we need like a Minnesota liberal amount of celery salt. So, I like to cover up that ice before I add my booze. I forgot my alcohol on there. Well, let's pretend. So after the celery salt, so the alcohol would go like before the bloody mix. So where my cursor is. So after the celery salt, if you want it spicy, like good spicy, you're going to take a little booger flick of horseradish. So take like the back of a spoon, or just a spoon, and just like a little bit of a booger flick of horseradish just right on top of the ice there. And then you're going to, after the booger flick, you're going to put in your rail vodka. This is critical that you use rail vodka. If you use anything higher than Taka, I don't know what you're doing. Especially if you order, sure, okay, if you only have Tito's at your house, like use your Tito's. But if you're out ordering a bloody and they ask, what do you want? Rail is the only option. When we were at Ski Brule, I ordered a bloody, and the bartender asked me my vodka preference, and I said rail is fine. And this Karen right next to me, she budged in and she said rail is never fine. I said, what are you talking about? It's a Bloody Mary. You can't taste it anyways. And she goes, oh, yes, you can. I said, I guarantee you, if I taste tested you with rail and anything above rail, you would not be able to guess it. And she's like, I bet you I could. And I took my bloody and left because she was rude and she was killing the vibes. So, rail bloody. And then you put in your bloody mix, which I'll talk about bloody mixes later. So you got it in the glass, and then you're going to take another cup. Ideally, if you've got like one of those big stadium cups, that's what we used in college, you know, like the ones that you get at Camp Randall or any sporting event. It's nice and big. You mix into there, back into the glass, back into the mixer, back into the glass. You do that twice. Twice is the perfect amount of mixture. And then there you go. You garnish with whatever you got. Pickle, meat, cheese, lemon, celery stick. Clean out the fridge. You can put bacon in there. You could put shrimp. You could put a corn dog. You could put a burger, chicken wings, olives, asparagus, spicy dilly beans, what are those? What else could you put in there? Whatever you can find. But I think a perfect, honestly, is pickle, meat, cheese, lemon, celery. The ones that I have listed there. That would kind of be like my absolute ideal. But I get it. You know, sometimes you don't have everything on hand, and neither do restaurants. Like, it's kind of ridiculous for a bar to have like celery specifically stocked just for bloodies. But they could do pickle, meat, cheese, I feel like. And then they always have lemons. And then after that, on top, so once the garnishes are on there, do a little Mississippi liberal amount of celery salt on top. So just a little bit of celery just on top is a double garnish. And then your chaser, whatever you have. Mine is a Spotted Cow. I like Spotted Cow, but it's not my favorite beer in the world, and it's not even my favorite New Glarus beer. But Spotted Cow is absolutely delicious with a bloody, because it's got that kind of little sweetness that takes out the spiciness of the bloody. I can't stand having an IPA as my chaser with a bloody, because it just doesn't. You can't drink an IPA and then like also be eating or drinking some sort of spicy food. Like an IPA with buffalo wings, that sucks. You need to have, you know, like a PBR or a Coors Light with wings. But if they don't have Spotted Cow, I'll usually take whatever domestic, you know, whatever shitty domestic beer they have on tap. Miller Lite would probably be my number 2, because I love Miller Lite and PBR. So yeah, that's my beast mode recipe. You're allowed to use it if you'd like. Bloody Mary mix. This was just the photo that I saw with all of the kind of main popular ones. Mr. T's and Zing Zang are definitely the most popular, I would say. That V8 one I've seen quite a bit. I feel like a lot of... Do I have another photo? No. A lot of hot sauce brands I've seen have one. Like Tabasco has their own. Like Slap Ya Mama, that's the Cajun seasoning. They've got their own, I know. Fever Tree is probably pretty good. Fever Tree has really good like ginger beer and tonic that I've seen. But yeah, whatever you've got. And honestly, like, they all taste pretty good. Like the house-made ones are usually really good. What we use at Mount Lacrosse, and I actually really, really like, and I think I've seen a couple other places around La Crosse area use them as well, is they use, or at Mount Lacrosse we mix half Bloody Mary mix, half tomato juice, and it, to me, has a really, really good consistency, and it's not, sometimes those, like, full-on Bloody Mary mixes, if you then doctor them up with Worcestershire sauce and celery salt, it gets a little too gritty and just kind of gross. Whereas if you mix Bloody Mary mix and tomato juice, it cuts down on that, the already added ingredients to the Bloody Mary mix, to where you can kind of add your own, and it'll make it taste to what you want it to taste like. So I recommend Sacramento, half bloody, half tomato juice, which you could probably get them on Amazon, but I feel like they come in pretty big cans, so they probably don't have them at restaurants at grocery stores, and it's probably easiest to just order through the liquor distributor. I would assume that's what a lot of these places do. Okay, now I go into that. I first also wanted to talk a little bit about when people drink these, which we all know, is around that breakfast time, and you're kind of a psycho if you order one past like 4 o'clock, which I've done many times before, and I always feel bad for the bartender, but whatever, live with it. What was I going to say about it? So yeah, it's usually used as like a alcohol or as a hangover remedy, which you hear the term hair of the dog. So like people might be like, oh, let's go get the hair of the dog and grab a bloody. So where does hair of the dog come from? It's short for hair of the dog that bit you, which is, in reference to using alcohol in general as a remedy for a hangover. And that comes from the method of treatment if bitten by a rabid dog was to then pluck hairs from that rabid dog and place it in the wound of the bite, put it in the bite wound, and that is supposed to help you heal correctly without getting evil spirits or something like that. Which I originally thought I read something earlier when I first looked it up about how like witches would put hair of a dog in like their potions, and then you would like drink it to help you from feeling ill or something like that. So that's where I thought the drinking part kind of came from, but I guess I was wrong. But people also associate Bloody Marys with that hair of the dog or hangover remedies because it has a vegetable base, which is nice and easy to settle the stomach. It's very salty, which can replenish your electrolytes that you lost from drinking. And then it has alcohol, which can be used as a headache and body pain reliever. So, kind of cool. Okay, now we'll get into my woats and my goats of bloodies. So, my woats. Yeah, these were all pretty bad. And so, I went on a kick when I was in like Eastern Europe and the Balkans, where they were all horrendous, and I had about 4 more that I could have put on here, but I was like, they're all like, what do you expect? They're all bad. They don't know how to do it. But my 1, 2, and 3 are all in that Balkan region: Greece, North Macedonia, and Serbia. They were pathetic. It was that bad one in Theolagos was literally like drinking tomato puree, not even tomato soup. Like, I feel like they just blended up a tomato and then put vodka in it, and I couldn't even really taste the vodka. So that was really, really bad. Same with the one in North Macedonia and Serbia. They were super chunky and they were bad. It tasted like oatmeal, like that thick. Umbrella Bar, that's the bar. This one was more so maddening because, like I was talking about earlier, it cost $14. It was a ripoff. And Big Sky, terrible. Just not good whatsoever. They're trying to make it too cutesy, and it sucked. Triangle Club Bar, Juneau, Alaska. That was a sad one. Tasted terrible. Also, I'm referencing all these from the Bloody Mary page that I have, which I still don't know the password, but I was able to look it up and find, all my reviews. West Side Yard sucked. I think it was canned. I didn't see them pour it from a can, but it was at West Side Yard. Oh no, that was West Side Yard, not Guidepost. Yeah, that one sucked. Guidepost is number 8, which I didn't see that one poured from a can, but Guidepost is a brewery. So in Idaho, if you're a brewery, you're not allowed to sell any form of alcohol other than beer. And if you do, it has to be canned. So they have all these gross like Cutwater canned cocktails, which I should also add. If it's canned, it's automatically a D. It's like I've never had a remotely good canned bloody. The Cutwater ones suck. The Mr. T ones suck. The Zing Zang ones suck. They're not good. The Cutwater one is really bad. So I didn't see the Guidepost one in Victor poured from a can, but from what I know about the liquor laws in Idaho, I'm guessing that it was served from a can. Number 7, I jumped it. The Chili's one at Chicago O'Hare was terrible. That was bad and sad. They charge you whatever they want because you're going to get it. You're at the Chili's in O'Hare, about to go on spring break. What else are you going to do? You're obviously going to get the Bloody Mary. Bad. W, I had this one when we went and watched the Super Bowl. That sucked. I don't know if it was their Super Bowl, like special one or something, but you would think they would have an okay one. That was definitely the worst one I've had in Madison. And then Earl's, which there was another one in Idaho I probably could have put on here, but I felt for the sake of, like, obviously they're going to suck in Idaho, but for the sake of spreading it out geographically, Earl's grocery store in La Crosse, which I love Earl's. It's a cool little bar, but their bloody, when I went, it was pretty poor, especially in comparison to the other great bloodies that are in Wisconsin, or specifically in La Crosse. So that's my vote. And you'll see there's a theme when I go on the next slide. But the further you get away from Wisconsin, the worse the bloodies get. And I haven't talked about them, but beer chasers. Like, none of these had beer chasers. You have to have a beer chaser. So, yeah. Which states bordering Wisconsin don't even know. Like, Iowa, no. Illinois, no. Minnesota, no. In the UP, maybe. But that's basically Wisconsin. So, here's my goats. I'll go the reverse order. Mangy Moose in Teton Village. That was pretty good. That was definitely the best one I've had outside of the Midwest, and that's why I felt like I should throw it on there. There's probably a couple that I can't think of in Winona that are pretty decent. I know I had one in Detroit Lakes. That one was really bad. That was sad. I bet Duluth has got a couple good bloodies. There's probably some in Iowa, some small town bars in Iowa that've got good bloodies, but for the sake of this, I wanted to be like, shout out Wyoming. They had it. They did a pretty good bloody. My computer's gonna die, so I'm gonna grab my charger. Going from there, we've got Chiba Hut, which, if you guys remember, that came with me. That was a hilarious Bloody Mary that we got. The dude was absolutely stoned, and he threw on top of the glass like a piece of salami, which was awesome. But that one was good. It was pretty decent, and also Chiba Hut rocks. So the fact that they had a good bloody didn't surprise me, I guess. But I wonder if I went to a Chiba Hut in Colorado or Arizona where they have other locations, if it would be as good. I have a feeling it probably would not be as good. But shout out that bartender at Chiba Hut. That was on a Friday at noon. Vintage in Madison had a really good one, which you can see the trend here. They're almost all Madison, which I spent a lot of my time in Madison drinking, so that makes sense. Vintage was good. Scotty Bar, really solid. Blue Moon, really, really good. We went there after golfing. That was a lot of fun. Really good bloody over there on the west side. The Irish Pub on State. This is the one that they used. I think they used A1 steak sauce and sriracha instead of Worcestershire and Reds. And it was actually really good. I really enjoyed it. And it was a little bit more spicy, maybe because of that sriracha. Echo Tap, very good bloody. Mickey's, also fire bloody. And this is Mickey's on the east side by Willie Street, not Mickey's Diner Bar. I don't think they serve alcohol. And also, that place sucks. I'm sorry, hot take, but Mickey's over by Camp Randall, I think, is the most overrated thing in Madison. You get these giant pancakes that are, kind of good, and you stand in line for 35 minutes and then realize you don't have cash, so then you have to go back outside, take out cash from the ATM and pay like a $5 ATM charge, and then come back in and pay for your pancakes. So not the greatest experience in my life. But this is the other Mickey's. This is the Mickey's on Willie Street, where Willie Street rocks, and it was good. My number 2 is the one that I hold near and dear to my heart, the Trumpeldor Hotel. Super good bloody. That's where I get my recipe from. I love it. It's just great. That's the one I, more or less grew up on. Like, I remember vividly going there with my parents, and my mom would get a bloody, and I would ask her to have her pickle every time, and I would like let it soak in there until she was done with it, and then I would eat the pickle. So good. And that place is just amazing in general. Great views, really good food, really good drinks, good vibes. Yeah, it's an awesome little spot. Great basketball court. But my number 1 is Del's in La Crosse. Del's is really, really good, and they advertise it. They know what's going on. People know about it. It's the best in my opinion. And yeah, they've got a bunch of different ones. I've only gotten just like their basic one, or like their standard or traditional, but they've got, spicier, and they've got like a little bit more loaded ones. You can get like a chalice one, which it's probably not that much actually. But it's probably, 2 or 3 bloodies worth, but you can, share it with someone. That always looks kind of fun. But yeah, those are my goats. And yeah, all really good. None of them really had the crazy garnishes. I'm not a huge fan into the like ultra crazy garnishes. Though that to me just seems like when you're adding a whole rotisserie chicken to a bloody, I feel like your Bloody Mary isn't that good. Like you're compromising for the taste by having this ridiculous garnish. But yeah, I haven't totally. We tried to go to the Nitty for their Bloody Zilla, I think it was called, and they were out of it. They like weren't, or it was only offered during brunch, and we went there, after like their brunch menu ended, which was stupid. I don't even think their regular one was that good. But yeah, comment down, drop a comment down below where your favorite Bloody Mary ever is. I don't know if there was anything else I wanted to talk about. Let's see. I think I got all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, bloodies are so good and good for you. Got those vegetables in there, and probably good for your bones. There's probably some carrots are good for your vision. Probably tomatoes are too. Yeah, I think that's about all I got here. I don't know how long that is, so I might have to fill in some more on this episode, but I'll try to get in a clip of me with the shirt and my hat. Sorry, I'm not wearing my Tyrod Taylor hat. But yeah, thanks Cole for doing this one. Maybe I'll reach out to you and see what your favorite bloodies were, and you could get back to me, or you could just drop a comment and like and subscribe. All right, thanks guys.